So, welcome everybody to COVID-19 controversy. Um, my name is Selena, and this is my organization, SME Safety Solutions. I just wanted to talk about the controversy about all the COVID-19 pandemics that everyone's talking about. So, we'll get through this. It's only a short video and slideshow. But I'll go through every section, every part as well. So welcome to safety. The Work Health and Safety Act is there to protect all employees. And there had been changes made from the National Cabinet on the 1st of December 2022. Under the Work Health and Safety Act, Section 36, or any prescribed illness under Regulation 699 of the Work Health and Safety Act. The PCBU, who is the primary duty holder of the organisations, had the duty of care to notify the regulator if any of their employees died from COVID-19 or became seriously ill. The cases would have been treated treated on a case-by-case basis depending on the symptoms that they had. So let's talk about COVID-19. What is COVID-19? So it's a coronavirus disease. It's an infection, really, which causes a SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people infected with this virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring any special treatment. So unsure about these immunisations again, why they were introduced. However, some of these will become seriously ill. So some people became seriously ill, some required medical attention. I guess, look, the older you get, coming in contact with people with a cold and flu, you're going to get really sick because your immune system is compromised. However, those people with underlying medical conditions and cardiovascular disease, inclusion of diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, or more likely to develop serious illness. So they can get sick on a regular basis involving COVID-19 and look, having that, becoming more seriously ill or dying at any age from COVID-19 as well. So the laws behind COVID-19, there are no laws behind the vaccination scheme for COVID-19 as they're not FDA approved. They were only TGA approved. So there's a big difference. People really need to do their research. So these were only recommendations from the World Health Organization. They weren't actually law. So really, you did not have to have it. They weren't tested enough. They left people seriously injured from these vaccinations. People were left in hospital, blood clots, and even death. So these vaccinations obviously were in place to minimize the risk of contracting it. However, they weren't effective, and people still contracted it regardless, being immunized or without being immunized. And there's no laws stating that you needed to be immunized against it. So the workers' protection, workers have the right not to participate in the program if they're uncertain about it, and there's no information to actually convince them to have it. So meaning if they believe that this will affect their health and safety and well-being, they do not have to partake in any program or any immunization program. Employees have the right to voice their opinions regarding a forced immunization. Employees do not have to participate in any programs that they don't feel it's safe or it's going to affect them in any way. And it might affect them performing in their job role or doing their job to the safely. They also can voice their opinion, freedom of speech, and that includes protesting, but protesting in a civil manner. Now, there are a few deadly batches that were brought out from Pfizer and the other organisations. They were released and they were reported. However, they weren't taken out of the stockpile and they left people with serious illnesses and injuries leading to fatalities. So all COVID-19 deaths needed to be reported to the regulator and Comcare as a notifiable incident, and that's under section notifiable incidents under the Health and Safety Act. So some of your physical side effects of COVID-19, a lot of people lacked the energy. They were very tired. Their skin was being cold and clammy. There was an unusual body odor smell, like a toxic one, that made people's noses like sting a little. They had consistent cold and flu symptoms, the heart flutters and palpitations, pressure in the chest, so they felt like they couldn't breathe, fever, sore throat, and difficulty breathing. They're just a few of the symptoms. I didn't go into all of the symptoms, but I'm sure there will be a lot more in terms of physical side effects, such as blood clots and other things as well. So your long-term side effects, if you suffer from any of the following, you can place a workers' compensation claim. If you're forced by your employer to be immunized against COVID-19 and you had no other option, and they said you had to be forced, you have to have it, otherwise you lose your job. Well, they are liable for damages, and then it becomes a workers' compensation claim. So if you had the immunization and it's affected your lifestyle or your well-being or your ability to do your job properly or look after your family, your next step is to consult with lawyers. And they are aware of which vaccinations and what side effects they have in terms of adverse effects. But you'll need to provide your evidence in terms of doctors' reports and everything, blood tests and everything else. Your case will be treated on a case-to-case basis, depending on the severity of your side effects and the injuries and illnesses sustained from this. So there are natural treatments available. However, there are also medications such as blood thinners. There are blood cleanser recipes like teas and herbs that you can take. And they could be arranged through your naturopath or a herbalist. A herbalist doctor specializes in that area. The blood transfusions, you can get a blood transfusion, but it has to be from a non-vaccinated person. Some people might require organ donors due to the inflammation in their body. It has affected an organ or the function of an organ. Ensuring you're drinking plenty of fluids. Now, it all depends on the inflammation markers, and your blood tests will determine the severity of the damage that it's caused. Now, there is evidence for safety precautions. All vaccinated people cannot give blood due to the clotting that they have. So we're taking extra safety precautions and just advising them not to give blood. However, blood is to be taken from the younger who are non-vaccinated and the non-vaccinated. And it's got to do with something with the plasma in the blood and your proteins. So you'll find that when you do have your blood test, you might have different protein levels, you might have different inflammation markers, and there's a highly likely chance of blood clots as well. So this is just a table of your COVID-19 vaccination claim scheme. So you've got on here, you've got all the different vaccines. So you've got AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, and the other ones. And any TGA approved COVID vaccines as well. So you've got their side effects, so what it can cause, so anaphylactic reactions, thrombosis, myocarditis, and it's got everything, capillary leak syndrome, it's got everything, it's all listed here. So this is what you'd go to your lawyer with. And it's extremely important that you understand and you have the evidence of your vaccinations as well. So the paper they give you or whatever it is that you've had, and just take that as evidence with your supporting documentation from your doctors, and take it to a specialized lawyer who specializes in COVID vaccines. So there was a bit of confusion about COVID-19 vaccines and their job loss. So consulting with legal professionals about who has lost their job and why, I'd like to bring the following legislation to your attention that protects all workers under the Work Health and Safety Act and immunisation laws. So people who have lost their jobs for not being vaccinated, their jobs really need to be reinstated. And as this was only recommendations, it's not a legislative requirement to be vaccinated. You can't force anyone to be vaccinated, and the vaccine wasn't FDA approved. So starting with the Anti-Discrimination Act, so employees are protected under the Anti-Discrimination Act against their health status. It's like saying, oh, well, you're not vaccinated, you can't work. So it's actually discrimination. It's like discriminating someone against their appearance, really. This includes immunisation status, mental health as well. So psychosocial hazards come into factor here. And we've also got equal employment opportunity laws and equal employment laws, regardless of immunisation status. If you can do the job and you're qualified, and you have a chance to cover someone else who is actually injured from these vaccinations, then ensure that all employees are treated equally, including the hiring and promotion and compensation of employees. So they all should be treated equally regardless of immunisation status. So your equal opportunity and employment laws includes your race, your gender, your age, your religion, your disability, so your physical ability, your mental health and your mental capacity, your sexual orientation, political opinion, parental status, or your health status. Your human rights as well. You have every right to voice your opinion. This includes freedom of speech, being free from being exposed to harmful environments and harmful vaccinations. And this is in any environment, and your freedom of movements as well. So being locked up in a house wasn't very good for people's mental health, or being isolated away from other work employees. Yeah, it wasn't very good for mental health, and due to that, there was a lot of the divorce rates went up, and people not knowing what to do in isolation when they were in isolated periods or working in isolated areas. This includes anyone from any industry, so we don't discriminate against anyone in any industry. If you have been affected, and there is immunisation amendment laws as well, that you can be compensated if it's done through the health programs that they provide to students at schools. So you can get compensated under the Amendment of Public Health, so the immunisation laws, and that's the Act of 2018, number Section 127. So Section 127, after Section 136, the liability to workers required to be vaccinated. And this is compensation for loss and damages suffered from workers being injured by the vaccination, or they're being forced and or administered forcefully taken as well. Remember, guys, you need to do your research. You need to look at methods, results, conclusions. These aren't tested thoroughly enough to be administered to human beings. There was only a very short percentage of testing done on a race that, is not covered by everyone. It was tested on animals, but not enough testing was done, and it wasn't approved. So you guys really need to do your research when looking at things, looking at any medications, looking at any immunizations, because there has been links to other things as well. And for children, their brain doesn't stop developing until they're the age of 21. So anything administered to a child can actually alter the chemicals in their body and in their brain. So it can actually cause permanent damage. So we need to ensure that we're taking every precaution, especially for our younger generations that need to take over the country, that they're thoroughly tested, and it's not going to affect their health and safety, or alter any chemicals or do any damages to their well-being or body. or brain. So the country did come to a stand alone, and it was like a ghost town. Just remembering, if you are sick or you have any symptoms or whatever it is that you have, wear a mask or stay at home until you feel better. And they're the best, that's the best advice that someone can give you. And stay hydrated. Um, Instead of partaking in things that are not approved, and ensure that your health and safety is always, number one priority. And I just want to thank you for listening to this, because it is a big eye opener, and it's good to expose things like this and just to educate people. It's very important. And thank you for listening. And you guys all stay safe. And I'd like to see more smiles on people's faces, and be happy. And thank you. Have a great day. Bye.